So how do you think Jira can help in responding to a change?
There are 12 principles. People were facing lot of problems.
We are running in a very fast-paced world.
As a developer, you say that, okay, no, we will not incorporate.
What are some of the major areas where people generally go wrong when they are trying to do Agile using Jira?
Ultimately, people get frustrated and they don't want to use the tool.
Hey guys, welcome to Better Engineering and Management podcast. Today we have Yogita Chhaya with us to discuss how can we do Agile authentically with tools like Jira. Yogita is a certified soft skills and Jira trainer and author of the book Ultimate Agile Administration with Jira. Yogita, please welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Pradeep, for inviting me to this podcast.
Thank you, Yogita. Yogita, first question that I wanted to ask is one of the major tenets of Agile Manifesto is individuals and interactions over processes and tools, right? So, considering that tenet, where do you think Jira fits with Agile?
It is a very important thing whenever you are starting in agile way of working. So individuals and interactions over processes and tools, this is the first value which has been included in as a part of agile manifesto. There are 12 principles and 4 values which are mentioned. So just going back, I will not spend too much of time on that, but people were facing lot of problems, like they were following lot of rigid processes, and they forgot to, they did not have enough time to interact with each other. So it was making a lot of problems while executing and completing the projects. And finally in 2001, agile manifesto was created, and as a part of it, this is the first value. So let us first of all break it down. Like, let us talk first about processes and tools. So agile doesn't say that processes and tools are not important. Tools are equally important. Even you can have some defined processes whenever you are working in any type of projects. But agile basically it says that agile way of working mentions that more important is people. So people means individuals and interactions. So here I would like to explain it like this. Suppose you are working in any project and you have purchased a tool like Jira, and you if you think that, okay, I have Jira, so I am in agile, so that it is not like that. So to follow agile in the right manner, you have to understand all the values, principles, all those things. So there are few values such as collaboration, communication, conversations. So when there are smart people and they work by collaborating with each other in a specific teams, so they can create very good products. So let us understand now how Jira can help to implement agile by keeping in mind this particular value.
Sure.
So first of all, agile manifesto also mentions there are two principles highlighting this particular thing, like people should they should have face to face meetings. So face to face meetings does not mean that they should be in a particular at a particular place only, in a particular office. It could be video call also, but they should meet each other. That there should be some conversations, and they should communicate what is required, like requirements, or if there are any changes. And there is also one more principle related with customers. So it says that business analyst, so basically developers also, they should basically communicate with customers, so end customers. So whatever the customer has mentioned, that should be communicated in a right manner to the actual developers. So all these things, and it puts importance of the same thing, like it should be individuals and interactions.
Right.
So let us start. I will give you some examples here. For example, you are at each and every stage in Jira. For
Mhm.
example, you have sprint running, right?
Right.
So at that time, to communicate with each other, it's not just important to add all those tasks or enter all the tasks and everything in Jira, but you have to communicate priorities. You need to converse with each other if there is something urgent. So teams have to communicate with each other. There are features for such as, you can comment, you can mention at the rate, you can also send notifications. You have the features called, with the help of automation rules also you can send email. So these are the basic features in Jira which helps to, it accommodates this particular value which is mentioned in the Agile manifesto. In addition to that, there is one more scenario I would say, and it is right now it is the same, it applies to each and every organization. Most of the organization, they have global teams. So
Right.
suppose a person who is working in India, and that
Mm,
person has worked, and that person has worked on a particular feature, and he or she has entered the details in Jira.
mm,
So the other person in the other part of the globe,
mm.
they can easily collaborate, they can discuss while doing daily stand up meetings about whatever features has been developed. In addition to that, I mean, while following in the sprint, at that time also they can communicate it with each other. If there is any priority task, they can discuss with each other. In addition to that, during the retrospective also, you can keep your sprint related task open and you can discuss. So these are the things which are available. So Jira has it has agile boards. It is for Scrum and Kanban, both the things. In
Right.
addition to that, you have dashboards, reports, everything is there.
Mhm,
So people can interact, and it is very important. So it is not a tool based framework, but
mm.
agile way of working should, basically it should drive the whole thing.
Understood. And that's very interesting, I think, Yogita ji. I think some of the things that you mentioned is very kind of interesting because you said Agile doesn't say that you don't use processes and tools. It says you give precedence to people and interactions. And because eventually when you work, you will need tools because you have to do something, right? And you have to plan something. And without any tools, it will be difficult to kind of do those things. So precedence should be given to individuals and interactions. And you also mentioned a very interesting point that you have to communicate with customers, which may be global. Without tools, you cannot do that because if you have tool like Jira and all those things, you can comment on the task and immediately everybody will see. So in a way, it is a way of interacting. So Jira is helping you interact, which is a important kind of principle of Agile, that interactions, right? So Jira is a tool to interact in that manner. It is kind of helping you in the cause of Agile. Interesting, very interesting. Okay, so Yogita ji, next question that I wanted to ask was like, Agile also encourages us to be more responsive, right? That is to respond to change rapidly instead of following a plan. And Jira is also a planning tool, right? So how do you think Jira can help in responding to a change?
Yeah, and this is also a very interesting thing. Whenever any new teams or organizations are implementing agile, so sometimes it is misinterpreted like, okay, so no planning. So it is not like that. So agile is not a no planning thing. And even Jira allows you to plan when you have to follow agile way of working. So again, let us break it down. Like, things are going to change nowadays. I mean, world is has become too dynamic. We can experience many, I mean, in day to day thing and everywhere. So things are going to change. Change is a constant thing, and we have to, basically we have to be ready to adapt everything. So
Mhm.
the same thing applies in case of software development or anything you take in real life, in
Right.
professional life. So now I would like to explain it. There are two important things here. So why we should basically adapt to change. That is very important. So sometimes what changes actually, the actual customer requirements change, and in addition to that, your competitors. Suppose you are an organization, and
Mhm.
your competitors will release products. They will release multiple products from multiple customers, multiple competitors. So if you want to stay in the market, and if you want to be successful, so in that case, obviously you have to, you have to adapt to the change, which are the changing requirements.
Mhm.
So this is one thing which is very important. In addition to that, Jira has lot of different things. So for example, now I will explain about how you can accommodate changes in Jira.
Sure.
Suppose there is a changing, there is suddenly a bug has been reported from the customer, or there is
Mhm.
some additional requirement. So if for example you want to, they want some functional features and functionality which is related with simply with user interface. So as a as a developer, will you say that okay, no, we will not accommodate? You have to accommodate those changes. It's very simple thing nowadays.
Right.
So small functionalities you can accommodate. So for that, okay,
Mhm.
we will understand about Jira, but before that, let me explain few more things.
Mm.
So what happens if your mindset, so suppose people who are working in your teams, if they have that type of mindset that, okay, no, we cannot change. We have decided this plan and we will follow the same. So in that case, you may definitely face problems. So first of all, in any organization, what should be done is, first of all, train everyone on the agile mindset.
Okay.
So, agile mindset, see, as I am also a soft skill trainer, so I can correlate a lot of things from in agile mindset. Like, you should know basically the thinking pattern has to be changed. I mean, you should accommodate this as a part of anyone who is joining the organization. And after that, you can include the training which is related with specific tool. It could be Jira or it could be any other tool which you are using. I mean, you have implemented for your agile project management. So
Okay.
provide training to everyone. Think in that way that you have to be ready and think about all the values which is a part of those values which are part of the agile mindset. And now in Jira, suppose now let us understand again that that is the case. You have to include either bug or any particular new functionality. So there are ways. Very first thing is you can enter that in the backlog. That is one thing. That is one
Mm.
option which you can do. You can enter it into the backlog. There is a backlog
Right.
option in Jira, and you can take up that those tasks or bug in the next sprint. But if it is
Right.
urgent and it has to be included,
Mm.
so and Jira allows to include those things, and at the end of the sprint, basically, when you are
Mm.
doing retrospective and when you are basically generating the reports at that time, it will show you that, okay, there was some change in the scope and how it has affected the performance of the sprint. So you should be first of all ready to accept those changes and implement those things in Jira. And Jira has these features and functionalities at each and every stage of the software development thing. So you can see, you can suppose you need to change any workflow status. Sometimes it may happen that, okay,
Right.
this type
Mm.
of change has to be included. That is also possible. Like your Jira administrator will include those many statuses,
Workflows.
and
Okay.
they can make changes in the workflows also.
Mm.
So
Mm.
changes can be implemented in Jira. It's very easy. But the
Okay.
only thing is people
Mindset.
should be ready to accept the
Okay.
changes. And that is the
Okay.
challenge whenever you have to implement and whenever you have to start with agile way of working.
Very interesting. What you are saying is that the tools and things process comes later. First is the mindset. And when you are onboarding your team members, let's say new team member or something, it's very important to groom them in such a manner that they understand the agile objectives, basically, which means that you should tell them in advance that, hey, a reprioritization can happen at any point of time and you should be ready for it. You should not say no to those things. It is part of the plan. And basically, as you mentioned, right, we are running in a very fast paced world. We have too many competitors. Everyone is kind of, every feature that you are developing, some other competitors also might be developing. And if your customers start getting attracted to other features, there's no point in kind of staying with your original plan, right? So if you really want to survive, you should kind of keep changing your plans. And if anything urgent is there, any bug is there, as you mentioned, right, it has to be taken immediately. And as you rightly mentioned, Jira allows you to do those things either through backlog or through changing your current sprint. So Jira is not blocking you in any way in kind of planning your changes or responding to the change. It's just that that is more of a mindset thing, and Jira is in a way helping you because you can kind of you're responding to change, but obviously you want to communicate also, right? That this is the task that we're taking up, and as you mentioned in the first question, right, the interaction part that also comes into play here because that is also important, right? As a part of if there is an urgent change, you would probably want everybody to kind of come on the same page, and Jira can help you there also. Okay, very interesting. So Yogita, the next question that I would like to ask is like, what are some of the major areas where people generally go wrong when they are trying to do agile using Jira, right? Because often we hear these questions and blogs where they say, right, in spite of following agile, they have not been able to get their business value successfully. So where are things going wrong?
Yeah, even I myself had this experience. Like, it was not a totally implemented, but there are challenges. I mean, challenges, and whenever you are discussing, I mean, whenever you are trying to change anything, people have, they just, they react with some kind of resistance. they have resistance to change basically. So our mindset is like that, and that is why it happens. So if something new you want to implement, so there are challenges. I will explain one by one. So first of all, what mistakes they do is, so what they want to do is, okay, suppose your leader has asked you to follow agile processes. So what they will do is, right from the beginning, they will start with the tool. Very first thing, don't start with the tool. Tool is facilitator. Jira is a facilitator. So
Okay.
likewise, they will say, no, we have to have Jira. We need so and so tool, and then only we can follow so and so thing. But it is a facilitator. It helps you to follow these things, but you have to focus on basically the what is the actual process, what are the things you need to keep in mind while following implementing agile. So what they will do in Jira is, like, right from beginning, I have observed that rather than following simple processes, simple workflows, they try to customize it in very much detail. So in the beginning, if you start to customize lot of things and people don't know, suppose you have 500 or 1000 or more than that people in the organization, and as an administrator or as a particular team, suppose you start customizing lot of things but other people don't know, so it is not going to add any value to not neither to yourself or the company. So that is one mistake, and the solution is very simple. Start with either Scrum or Kanban template. It's very simple. Start with the workflows which are provided in Jira itself, and as and when it is required, you can iterate. So here also you have to apply the actual agile principles, that learn, experience, and then get some feedback, and then you can modify
Improve.
the things step by
Okay.
step. So you cannot implement Jira or any other tool overnight. Just wait for some time and allow that time to being familiar for everyone. And meanwhile, you have to do a lot of other things, which I will mention. So you have to train people on agile mindset, and at the same time, you have to train people on. Right now, we are talking about Jira, so you have to provide the training related with Jira. Now, other thing is adding lot of custom fields, for example. So like custom fields, there are many other things which you can customize. So just, the team will ask that, okay, we want to add so and so custom field. So if you have the screens which are common to most of the teams, so I have observed, and even developers used to come to me and they will say that, okay, we don't want this many fields, we don't want to view these things. So if you have the screens which are it has lot of fields and you have to fill up all the things, which are of no use, so it becomes basically complicated. So in case of
Okay.
custom fields, or in case of workflows, or if you are
Mhm.
customizing anything, whether it is notifications, so all these things try to customize slowly, and then we are sure that we are going to utilize all the features and functionality of Jira.
Sure.
Then there are myths about lot of things. Say, for example, Jira is only for administrators. But it's not
Mm.
like that. Like, everyone has to enter the data. Otherwise, Jira will not give you anything. I mean, you will not be able to generate any types of reports out of it. So there is I have observed one thing is, okay, we will update Jira towards the end of the week or towards the end of the sprint. So what is the use of that? So it is meaningless. It should be daily practice to update Jira and even generate the reports, observe whatever dashboards you can create. And okay, one very common thing which whenever I conduct a training, so many people they don't know, okay, can we create the dashboard? So I said that, okay, dashboards are useful to everyone. It's not only for leadership or any specific group. So they don't know actually about all the features, and sometimes they may or may not have access to all these things. So these are some of the things. In addition to that, over customizing creates problem. In addition to that, yeah, this is all related with Jira's feature. But if we talk from the product development perspective, so what
Mhm.
happens is sometimes people add lot of things in the backlog. So
Okay.
anything comes to your mind, you enter into the backlog. So your backlog becomes 4-digit thing, right?
Mm.
So you have maybe 1,000, 2,000, or maybe more than that task. It could be task, bug, or whatever it is. So,
Stories.
so that is a wrong practice. even if you are entering these things in Jira, what you should do is on a regular time interval, you can refine the backlog. So one thing is at the time of sprint planning, whenever you are planning a new sprint, at that time you have to refine things and you have to prioritize the things, and at the same time in the it should be ritual kind of thing to refine the backlog. So at a particular time interval you need to do it, otherwise unnecessary task it creates chaos, and ultimately people get frustrated and they don't want to use the tool. That type of thing also can happen. These are
Mhm.
some of the mistakes. There are so many things people, they have some biased mindset with respect to Jira sometimes, and maybe Agile and Jira while implementing all these things.
Understood. Thanks, Yogita. I think that's a very detailed answer. Basically, what I understand is there is not one but many problems. First things any founder, any organizations need to take care of is don't start with the tool. First, you educate your people like what exactly is Agile, what are the objectives, and then bring up the tool. I think it's very important. Everyone who is watching this podcast should take note that don't start with the tool. Tools will come later. First, to understand what is Agile and what are the objectives of Agile. Second thing you mentioned is keep things simple. If the Jira, the process of creating a task or filling the details of the task and submitting it becomes heavy because a lot of custom fields, and if you have also made mandatory, even if they're not mandatory, if it is on your screen all the time, it kind of sits into your head that you have to fill so many things. So you can develop some kind of a, you may not feel like going to the tool and kind of using it as much because it becomes like a heavy process. And second thing is like sometimes the way administrators create these dashboards and all, not everybody has access. So people at large don't see the value of Jira because they only have access to certain things. But it's quite often that these dashboards should be exposed to everybody or as many people as possible, because then only it will start adding value. Everybody can see some of the common features and various stories of the task. Also, you mentioned that we should refine the backlogs very regularly. If the backlog becomes too big because you've added any left, right, and center tasks there, again, you will not feel interested in going and, kind of refining your backlog because it will become like a huge amount of work. So keep your backlog relevant. It will be large anyway because, nowadays too many tasks often end up, but probably it should be meaningful. Don't put anything in the backlog which you know for sure is not important. And also, last thing you mentioned is like there are many other things also that can go wrong. Main thing is mindset here. If you don't kind of understand the agile objectives, and you can kind of develop a bias, right? Because you will hear something from some colleagues or some other organizations or something, and you may, since you don't understand agile and Jira deeply, you may not want to use them. You may want to follow the whatever we have followed in the past, SDLC life cycles and all those things. A certain rigidity is also there in people, which kind of doesn't help the process essentially. So be open is also one of the things that you have to do when you are kind of working with things like agile. You were saying something? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I would like to add one more thing, that they have too many administrators. Suppose you have 10 teams, and I have observed that, they ask question that, okay, should we have a common Jira administrator? Should we recruit a person? So I said that, yeah, it is advisable if you have 10 different teams and you are using company managed projects, and
Mm.
if you want to customize everything, standardize. So in that case, you should have a team of Jira administrators. So there can be one or two Jira administrators who are responsible specifically to manage things. But I have observed that, okay, they will say that, okay, the teams, teams with they themselves will manage things. Now here it is something like so many cooks, right? So what happens is ultimately each and every team has specific requirements. So they will customize, each and every the team will spend some time to customize. And finally, so that time, so ultimately it affects the productivity. And Jira is loaded with lot of things, multiple workflows, similar type of things, multiple custom fields. And if you don't want to collaborate, so here the principle of collaboration is very important from admin perspective also, that okay, if you want something at an organization level, just discuss it out, and if there are some minor changes to be done, that you can implement. There are features, and now with the help of AI we will be doing wonders, I know that.
Interesting, sure. I think that's a very important point. Too many cooks spoil the broth. So probably if there are too many administrators and they have different way of doing things, you will end up creating too many different workflows in Jira, and Jira is full of features, as we know. So if all the features start conflicting with each other and kind of we can confuse the team itself. So probably hire a good administrator who knows everything, who has done things properly, and let one or two administrators, and so that they can also collaborate and the output shows into Jira essentially. Interesting. Last question, Yogita, to share some tips on Jira adoption that would help teams align with the goals of Agile and increase their productivity also.
Yeah. So this is the standard question. So I will share some best practices. So start simple. Start with a simple template, whether it is Kanban or any, if you are in working in other business teams also, but if it is agile, so you have Scrum and Kanban templates usually, and then you can iterate on and you can learn, and finally you can modify things, you can customize it. So that is very first thing. The other thing is train people. So provide the training, and if you have at your organization you have some specific customization done. So for example, in Jira by default you will not see few fields like, say for example, acceptance criteria. Then some companies, I mean, they add some specific time specific fields, so start time and end, start date and end date, etc. So all these fields you should communicate it to everyone in the team. So communicate it with everyone. So if you have organization specific customization which are done, so just mentor everyone who are on board, and basically just spend 1 hour or 2 hours time and allow them to practice in the test instance. So this is the best way to do it. Okay, in addition to that, to follow agile, first of all, whenever you create tasks in backlog, so you have the features to, I mean, you can enter priority. In addition to that, estimation is very important. While you are doing sprint planning, just make sure that all these things are, there are few fields which are mandatory. I mean, mandatory, it is not mentioned as a mandatory, but it is of no use if you don't utilize all these things, such as priority, estimation. So suppose you want to follow sprints. So you are using Scrum templates. So in that case, it's best to use story points as an estimation, or otherwise if you want to estimate it in terms of time, so those things should be entered before starting the sprint, and Jira itself will provide you a notification saying that it will provide you the message that okay, these many issues are not estimated or something like that when you start a sprint. So enter all the details. Also enter, you should, I mean, it should be linked to a parent issue. So sometimes what happens, you create a story or you have created a task, but it is under what? You don't know. So it is not linked to anything. It doesn't have a definition of what is the parent thing. So there are features and functionalities such as Epic, there are components, there are sprints. So these things should be utilized, and with the help of that, basically whenever you create a report or whenever you just access the board, you will come to know that okay, this is the epic, and under this epic we have this many stories to be completed in so and so sprint. There is a feature you can create versions in Jira. So it is something like a milestone. So at that time, after that, suppose after 2 months you will be releasing something. So that you should define it first and then associate, drag and drop those issues like that. So under this release, what is to be delivered? So that clarity comes. Okay, there are many other things to be followed in Jira is like communicate with each other. So for example, if you are doing some minor change or other changes are going to affect others also. So small features like you can comment or you can add the rate mention. So by doing this, you are basically utilizing, I mean, you are just informing people in the team so that they are in sync with each other. So these are general tips.
Sure. Thanks, Yuta. So what I understand is like communication is important and use it for as much communication as possible. It's a very interesting discussion, Yogita. Thanks for your time. At this point, I would also like to ask all the viewers, if you have used Jira and if you are implementing Agile, like what are some of the challenges that you have faced? How has tools like Jira or let us say ClickUp or something like that have helped you, or they have kind of, or if you have faced any issues with them, how have you resolved them? If you're still clear with certain things, do let us know in the comments about that also.
Sorry
Sure.
to interrupt here
Huh.
because this is very important, but I forgot to mention in the general tips. Like recently, Atlassian had announced. See, now you don't need to think Jira as a separate tool. So you have to consider it as a combination of products. So for example, whenever you are updating, completing a sprint, so you have a feature called a sprint retrospective. You can create a page and you can create a whiteboard in Confluence. so that you can do a retro over there. So it is possible if you have integrated multiple other tools. So it is best to use Jira, Confluence, Loop, and in addition to that, you have AI agents. So why I'm mentioning putting this agents also here, because with the help of agents, there are built-in agents which are helpful to follow agile also, and there are many different types of agents available to create content, and there are so many things which you can do with the help of that, and you can yourself customize the agent, you can create agents. So these functionalities are available. So it is best to think from now onwards, we should think, I mean, everyone will have to think from Atlassian ecosystems rather than thinking about just Jira, because by integrating different tools, in addition to that, you can also integrate it with some third party tools. So that will improve the productivity and it will be helpful to follow Agile.
Sure, thanks. It's very important. I think all of you should take note. Don't think of Jira as a separate tool. I mean, the whole kind of ecosystem which Atlassian provides will work in tandem with each other. So Confluence, Jira, and all those things. At Jira, you may be managing sprints, but for retrospective, you can use Confluence. And very important point that Yogita mentioned, now AI is also there, and all the AI related help you will also get in Jira, whether it's creating tickets or kind of asking for some help with the AI agents directly. We'll get that help also. Very useful, Yogita ji. And I think a lot of questions would have got resolved if people would have watched this podcast. Because generally, what happens is like we talk about agile, but we end up doing something else with tools like Jira, right? And then people get frustrated. And as you mentioned, right, they don't use tools as much as possible. But if you're not active on Jira, you're not kind of or any tool that you're using, you're not commenting enough, you're not kind of letting everybody know what you're doing. That is the biggest problem. And that is where I think the collaboration and all those
Yeah.
objectives of Agile don't get met. Thank
Correct.
you, Yogita. Thanks for your time. It was a great conversation and have a nice day.
Thank you.